market cap was in the 6-year period from March 16 to March 21. This is actually more 5 years. So over the last 6 years, how we've improved ratios in terms of debtor cycle, debt equity, interest coverage, our ratings improve for both short-term, long-term, and the cost of debt. So over the last 6 years, we turned our business into cash flow positive. We demonstrated working capital improvement, although we still believe more can be done and will be done over the next few years. And cash and liquid investments as of March 31st March 2021 was 125 crores. So we just mentioned about the discipline which got us here in terms of capacities we created, how we funded the business over the last few years, how we focused on building a brand through premiumizing the category, creating an aspirational brand. Balance sheet was always under focus, and we always believed in balance sheet more than P&L. So consistent debt reduction, improved cash flows. We created the product portfolio across both the laminates and allied and the decorative veneer and allied category. And today, we have the most exhaustive portfolio in this category in the industry. We built up competitiveness in scaling up, investing into brownfield expansions at far lower cost with improved margins. So the sales structure we've created, on the domestic side, distribution centers, number of branch offices, number of warehouses, number of distributors, dealers, retailers, the team strength. On the international side, 4 international distribution centers, 15 offices, 8 number of subsidiaries, over 100 team members globally, and about 100 countries presence globally. So really what greenlam validated in the last 6 years, vision clarity coupled with robust implementation. And implementation is WIP in certain categories, but obviously it's a journey which we are on, responsive to economic and sectoral challenges, smooth supply chain and huge trade partner support, sustained brand portfolio growth, innovation, certification competency, entering spaces, market cycles, successfully entered new markets, managed the market cycles, working towards premiumizing of the brand and products. Yes, Amit, we can go ahead. So this is the leadership presence in terms of laminates, worldwide presence, international revenues. Across segments we are present in currently, we have leadership and strong base. Right, so the thinking was that over the 6 years, this is what we achieved from existing business, and that's also WIP. Will keep working on improving that part. It's also time for us to extrapolate this capability across additional revenue engines in the space we are in the joining product categories. We have opportunities in our wood panel industry. Yeah. So part 3 talks about where greenlam is poised to go, where it seeks to go. So these are the consumer trends we are seeing, which is emerging: aspiration to live and work in better surroundings, greater willingness to buy based on long-term price value proposition as opposed to really low-cost products. Convenience in interior applications is taking precedence over really cost and effort. So really more of off-site carpentry and on-site installation. Consumers want to look at products from one outlet or one brand, so there's alignment in terms of designs, services, warranties, guarantees, and customers want to buy from companies who are committed to the ESG compliances. So there are 2 options in the way we respond to these: organic growth momentum and disruptive growth approach. So our goal is to graduate from a standalone surfacing products and services provider to an integrated surface and substrate solution provider. grow from a position of respect to a first recall, and to emerge as India's leading wood panel player. So these are the segments we are present in: laminates, veneers, wooden flooring, and doors. And these are the segments we want to be present in, with the entry into plywoods and particle boards. Laminates will always be our core strength, and will work with these adjoining spaces also. So we are looking at building a new greenlam, well-rounded profile, cross-sale driven greenlam, servicing all wood panel needs, extending from decorative wood to commercial wood panel categories, addressing demand across the value chain, covering the entire wood panel products range. So how this approach will enhance stakeholder values. So primary customers will increase dealer throughput, enhance trade loyalty, will have more wallet share with the dealers. Samarth, you'll have to just go back, please. Samarth. Yeah, please. Secondary customers addressing wood panel needs of consumers. Shareholders will benefit with sustained existing business to be sustained through existing accruals. Existing businesses don't need more capital, revenue profit growth, and enhanced ROCs. Vendors will benefit with vendors with better trade terms, and vendors will benefit with more volumes. And lenders will secure debt repayment and timely interest servicing. Yes, please, Samarth. So what can this do to our business? Yes, Samarth, we can go ahead. So what makes expansion diversification attractive? The markets we want to enter are large or rapidly growing markets. Certain segments, which is the particle boards and prelam and allied categories, are considered sunrise in the country. A large complementary product portfolio, cross-sell to catalyze revenues. So this is the current market size we are operating in. Laminates is about 9,000 crore market size. Veneers is about 2,000, and we intend to enter the plywood category, which is 30,000 crore market size in India, and particle boards, which are about 5,000 crore market size. So this is a graph showing the opportunity we have currently and what can this opportunity be. So from 11,000 to 46,000 crores, and the overall wood panel industry, if you would add the MDF market, will be like a 51,000 crore market opportunity. Yes, Amit. So our revenues last year were 1,200 crores, although again last year was not completely relevant with the corona, but we still have put this figure. So from this figure, we intend to triple our revenues by 2025-26, which is about 3,600 crores. As Greenlam Industries, it took us 28 years to reach this number, and we believe in the next 5 years we can, triple this numbers. Yes, sir. Let's go. So in this part, we talk about the plywood business. So it's a 30,000 crore market size based on our most recent assessment. So we intend to emerge as amongst the top 3 in India's plywood sector. Yes, sir. So this is the plywood numbers, what we are planning at the moment. So capacity will be 18.9 million meters square. 125 crores will be the capex. Expected date of commercial production is Q4 FY23. 400 crores will be the estimated revenues from this capital expenditure. Location would be Tamil Nadu. So the plywood sector is the building block of India's rapidly growing wood panel industry. As you are probably already aware that the segment is largely dominated by unorganized players. The organized sector largely constitutes of 2 national brands and a mix of regional brands operating in various regions. Presence of only 2 large organized players represents an opportunity for us to create space for ourselves. And we also think we can create space. The space can be created by taking away share from the unorganized segment. Right, sir. So India's plywood sector's inflection point market is occupied by branded, emerging regional and unorganized players. There's a trend towards formalization, so organized players we believe will win. Consumers are more willing to pay for superior quality. There's significant headroom in our belief in enhancing the quality standards of the industry, and we believe the consumer propensity is there in buying all surface and substrate product from one single company. So these are the challenges being faced by the unorganized sector currently, and we believe they're yielding grounds after several decades. Unable to address raw material cost volatility, unable to pass on the cost increases to consumers, increase in working capital requirements, challenges of products being focused on commodity, low realizations, challenges, unable to meet the challenges of regulatory compliances because most of the unorganized people win business because they are not compliant. And there's a trust deficit with the consumers due to inferior product quality. So what's going to drive the country's plywood segment? Talks about what the GDP, sustained increase in disposable incomes driven by growth across most interior segments in housing, retail, hospitality, commercial. Lower price sensitivity, greater respect for branded products. As the sector is concerned, easy finance for homes, regulatory environment. There's a dearth of credible, quality-driven brands, companies. Furniture market is expected to significantly scale up over next 2 and even a longer period of time, and growing preference for mechanized furniture driven by product standardization. So even today, most kitchen wardrobe manufacturing in the country needs a good quality plywood, and we believe there's a dearth of good quality plywood in the market. Several organized modular furniture people end up importing plywood because the domestic players are unable to provide those quality standards. So while we believe that plywood is only a carpentered product, there's also another market segment where plywood is used in mechanized furniture manufacturing, and we believe there's a space in that segment for us. Yes, Amit. So our proposed entry to plywood, what will it do for greenlam? Synergic portfolio to enhance cross sales, which basically means we do decorative veneers, we do flooring products, we do door products. Same consumers use plywood as a substrate. We do laminates. It needs a substrate, and the same customers who use laminates in their homes, also need plywoods. New and sustainable revenue engines for the company emerge as amongst the top 3 players in the segment. We become a complete solution provider with both surface and substrate products, and the goodwill we have as greenlam can be leveraged with end consumers and influencers. So projected competitiveness of a plywood business. Manufacturing, we intend to invest in the best equipments and cutting edge equipments to produce a best quality product. Really build high efficiency at the factories, produce a better product which becomes a benchmark in the industry. Location will be Tamil Nadu, South India. South India being the largest branded consuming region of the country at the moment. Raw materials available from agroforestry in the 5 states of South India. We already have distribution for us. South India is our largest market currently also. So we already have distribution across that region. Access, knowledge, relationship with dealers is already present, which can be leveraged. And the plant will be close to all southern markets, which kind of help us in quick delivery turnaround. Greenlam brand is well known across users in that region, and there's a significant amount of mechanized furniture fabricators in the region. And the brand has been built around a lot of trust, quality, and superior price value proposition. Yes, sir. So now we talk about the particle board business. Yes, sir. So the market size of particle boards currently in India is about 5,000 crores in value. And I must say that most particle board which is being sold is sold as pre-laminated particle board and not as bare board. So largely particle boards are sold as pre-lam particle boards and not bare boards, unlike plywoods or MDFs, which are largely bare boards. Plywood obviously is 100% or nearly 100% as a bare panel, MDF has some amount of laminated boards, but particle board is largely pre-laminated boards. Yes, sir. We can go next slide. Yeah. So this is our plans on the particle board business. 1,000.
Sorry to interrupt. This is the operator here. We are unable to hear you, sir.
Someone, I can't. Yeah. Is it better?
You may go ahead. Yes, you may go ahead now.
Yeah. So we intend to invest 600 crores in the particle board business. We intend to put in a continuous press line with the latest technology from Europe. And this investment also includes lamination of particle boards. And like I mentioned earlier, the boards are sold not as bare boards, but largely as pre-laminated particle boards. Expected date of commercial production is Q4 FY24. 600 crores is the estimated revenues from this segment. And location of the plant is going to be in Andhra Pradesh. Just a little bit communication and information on what is the macro of particle board worldwide. Particle board worldwide has the highest market share in the global wood panel industry. And large consumption of particle boards happen in the mechanized furniture industry. So for producing modular kitchens, wardrobes, shop fit-outs, office worktops, kitchen worktops, online furniture, co-working spaces. The government has shortlisted Indian manufacturing and specifically furniture as one of its key segments. We're expecting the government to set up or drive to set up certain amount of global furniture hubs, which will be clusters near ports to bring about exports of furniture from India. And we think India has a huge operating headroom compared to global capacity. So there's space for us to go and create large capacities in aligned with what's been done internationally. Yes, sir. So why are we excited about the particle board business? Commercial furniture replacement cycles declining from 12-15 years to 5-7 years. Declining incidence of on-site fabrication due to inconvenience factor. And I think I mentioned that before too. So with particle boards, most fabrication will happen at the factories, at the workshops, and installation will happen on the sites. On the environment side, particle board is produced from wood chips, wood waste, and completely sourced from agroforestry, sustainable renewable forests. 40% of current particle board panel being produced is from bagasse-based raw material, and this raw material is vulnerable. And there's a huge, significant switch, we believe, which will happen from bagasse-based to wood-based particle boards because of raw material availability, cost, and also the quality of product which gets produced from wood vis-a-vis the bagasse-based boards. There's an import substitute possibility as currently in India, we don't have any meaningful producer which produces high quality boards, and also we don't have producers producing various kinds of sizes, dimensions, widths, lengths, thicknesses, and grades of boards. So I think with the kind of equipments and capacities we want to build and the capabilities we want to build, there will be a significant opportunity we'll have to substitute imports. Currently, the market is dominated by unorganized companies, and there are a limited number of Indian particle board manufacturers, and the ones who are there largely have smaller capacities. Yes, some of this. So these are the global numbers. $21 billion the particle board size globally. 36% of the panel consumption globally is particle boards. In India, it's about 10% currently of the panel consumption, and 5,000 crores is the market of particle boards in India. So the greenlam game changer in particle board business. So we have an opportunity for market leadership. We have, like mentioned earlier, no national player with relevant capacities and technology. There's an opportunity to expand market size and also capture market size. Deeper positioning of greenlam as a one-stop solution provider. Unique interplay of scale, efficiency, branding. I already said that capacity-wise, we'll put in the state-of-the-art equipments. Automatic plant to enhance industry's quality standards. And from a consumer proposition, and I think this is quite a big one, will be the only plant in the country where particle boards greenlam particle boards, laminates, compact laminates is being produced at the Andhra factory. As most OEMs, kitchen producers, office furniture producers want particle boards, they want laminates for post-forming, they want laminates for paneling, they want compact laminates for bathroom partitions. So with this offering, will be unique in the industry, where across product categories of laminates and particle board in various dimensions, we can be able to offer the same color match, through the product lines. So I think this will bring about huge value to architects and to customers. So greenlam, the right company at the right time in the right place, positioned attractively to address the market opportunity, existing goodwill with users and influencers. The particle board plant is proposed to be in Andhra Pradesh. We have proximity to about 4 ports in about 120 km radius from our factory. Raw materials is available in the area, and South India is about 45-50% market share of India's particle board consumption, which means lower logistics cost to this region. Our relationships are extremely strong with the OEMs, with the mechanized furniture manufacturers, with end customers, distributors, and with whom we can be able to leverage that. And this will be an integrated plant with laminates, compact laminates, and particle boards, like I mentioned earlier, with matching decors across product lines. Yes, sir. So a little bit about the greenlam advantage in boards. So effective competitive advantage, brands already established, expenditures, overheads will get shared, quicker offtake because you already have the network, you have the brand name in place. We have people across various parts of the country in sales. We get larger customer wallet and complementary product offtake. So here we try to say what is the market reality and how greenlam has the opportunity in this particle board space. There's a trend towards branded organized sector offering. Greenlam is expected to emerge as a decisively large particle board player in the industry. Markets dominated by small players and imports will acquire scale and enhance credibility and global competitiveness with the size, capability of the plant we're investing in. Quality boards are a challenge for the high-end machine furniture fabricators. Mechanized furniture fabricators will probably give the world-class product standards and products to the mechanized furniture fabricators, so they don't need to import, and we become a local source for these people. Stunted market growth on account of limited product offerings. There's an opportunity because quality boards are not available in the market at the moment. Reality, there's a premium on the ability to distribute products wide across the Indian landmass. greenlam trade partners are extensively present across India. With our existing network, there's deep distribution and availability throughout. Obviously, that's a never-ending thing, but we already have a significant base there. There's a premium on the need to create a robust particle board brand. The greenlam is respected for trust, integrity, and durability, and we think we have this opportunity with us. Yes, sir. On this part, we talk about the laminates investment in Andhra Pradesh. So, total market size, as a recent estimate in India, would be about 9,000 crores of laminates, 2,500 crores exports from India, 6,500 crores domestic market, of which organized is about 4,000, 2,500 is about unorganized. Yes, ma'am. So here we aim to retain our position in the country's leading, as a country's leading laminate player. So the plan in laminates in terms of investments is, so we'd already announced 1.5 million sheets and boards earlier. So we're enhancing this investment to 3.5 million sheets and board per year, which basically means we are adding one more press line of 4x8 in this plant. Estimated capex will be 225 crores. And like we mentioned here, the initial capex will be slightly higher because it's a greenfield project. There'll be further possibilities of concurrent brownfield expansions at significantly lower capex. So in the same site, we can comfortably add another 3 to 4 lines as and when we need over a period of time as a brownfield expansion. So we have so much space at the plant. Expected date of production is going to be Q4 of FY23. Yeah. So I'll just go back one slide, please. And revenue generation is 500 crores. Location is the same as particle board plant at Naidupeta, Andhra Pradesh. Yes, sir, please. So this is the current capacity, 15.62 million sheets. Number of SKUs, colors, veneers being offered in laminates and veneers being offered in compact laminates. Yes, sir. So what are we respected in the global Indian laminate market for? Amongst the top 3 manufacturers worldwide, we've graduated from a commodity product to a premium lifestyle, low maintenance surfacing option. We have a family of laminate product portfolio and brands across sizes, thicknesses, solutions. We do interior stuff, exteriors, kitchen worktops, facade laminates, bathroom partition, etc. So offering laminates through the value chain. We already mentioned this. And products are being used in various segments: health, hospitality, education, retail, commercial, residential. And the products are marketed through 100 countries internationally. Yes, sir. So this is what greenlam 2 is going to look like. Yes. So we'll enter new segments and commission larger capacities. We'll add capacities in existing segments. We believe the time has come for us to provide entire range of surface and substrate products under consolidated greenlam industries. Time has come to create the foundation of a complete multi-product solution provider, both surface and substrate. And the upsides of being an early mover could translate into sustainable, secure leadership in the woodwork industry. Yes, sir. So this is a value creation opportunity. Significant business growth within a compressed time frame will fund the business through a prudent balance of debt and internal accruals, possibilities of higher margin through synergies, positive cash flows from existing business to drive sustainable growth. And we said that earlier, the existing businesses don't need any more capital in terms of working capital or fixed capital. Some maintenance capex will be needed, which will be far lower than the depreciation we have. Yes, sir. So what this means for our balance sheet: existing business well capitalized to grow using generated accruals, lower working capital for the new business. The new businesses where most of the raw material is largely domestically procured, unlike our existing business. So there'll be lower working capital in both the plywood and the particle board business. Shorter maturity curve for new projects, quicker and better profitability, superior margins and excellent revenues will enhance ratios, and projected gearing will be reasonable in our belief. Yes, sir. So, as a conclusion, we are entering a new orbit that will make us larger over the next few years, will make us more profitable, will make us more sustainable with newer market segments, newer products, newer facilities, and this will lay the foundation of a more valuable greenlam in the times to come. Yes, sir. So just on one sheet, what I'm trying to do. So capacities plan. New capacities plan, laminates 3.5 million sheets board, capex 225 crores, expected revenues from 500 crores, expected commencement of commercial production Q4 FY23. And I must repeat that this capex here, we can do multiple brownfield in the future. Plywoods 18.9 millimeter square per annum, 125 crores of capex, revenue 400 crores, expected commercial production FY23. Particle boards 231,000 cubic meters, expected capex 600 crores, revenue 600 crores, Q4 FY24. Can we go next one? Can we go next, please? Yeah. So this is more like a cumulative sheet of what our overall capacities will look like. Laminates will move from 15.62 to 19.12. Veneers, flooring door, there's no addition. Plywoods have come here, particle boards have come here. With the 2 new plants, we'll have 4 locations. We'll have Behror in Rajasthan, Himachal Pradesh, Naidupeta, Andhra Pradesh, and Tamil Nadu. Thank you so much. So this was it. I kind of summarized it, the entire presentation. So Diksha, that's all from my side, and you can take this forward now.
Thank you so much. We will now begin the question and answer session. Anyone who wishes to ask a question over video may click on the video question button at the bottom of their screens. Participants who wish to ask their question through chat may submit their question in the chat box option appearing at the bottom of their screen. We will wait for a moment until the question queue assembles. Announcement for the participants. Anyone who wishes to ask a question over video may click on the video question button at the bottom of their screens. Participants who wish to ask their question through chat may submit their questions in the chat box option appearing at the bottom of their screen. We will wait for a moment until the question queue assembles. Participants connected on the webcast, if they wish to ask a question over video, may click on the video question button at the bottom of their screens. Participants who wish to ask their question through chat may submit their question in the chat box option appearing at the bottom of the screen. Thank you. So we will take the first chat question from Mr. Praveen Sahai from Edelweiss Financial. His question is, particle board expansion, is it to capture domestic or international demand? Just need 1x asset turn. Do you see contraction in ROCE for company in coming years?
So, particle board, can I answer, Deekshana?
Yes, sir, you may go ahead.
The particle board is largely going to be a domestic play, and that's one. We might end up doing some export domestic play. As far as contraction on ROC is concerned, we do not see that. Although it's one asset turn, as I said earlier, most particle boards are being sold as situation. And with the offerings we have in veneers, flooring, doors, particle boards, pre-laminated particle boards, plywood, various grades of laminates. So we are open to it. But at the moment, there is no concrete plan on it.
Thank you. Thank you so much. Participants connected on the webcast are requested to click on the video question button appearing at the bottom of their screen. Anyone who wishes to ask a question over chat may click on the chat box option to submit their question. We have the next chat question from Mr. Prateek Podar from Nippon India Mutual Fund. The question is, what kind of EBITDA margins are we expecting for each of the new areas which we plan to enter?
I will direct this question to our CFO. Ashok, maybe you can take this question, please.
Thank you, sir. For plywood, we are expecting a EBITDA margin of around 13-14%. And for particle board, we are expecting a margin of around 22 to 24%. Thank you.
Thank you.
And laminates will be aligned to the existing margin.
Yes, sir.
Thank you so much. Anyone who wishes to ask a question over the video may click on the video question button appearing at the bottom of their screens. We'll wait for a moment while the question queue assembles. We will take the video question from Mr. Bhavin Chedda, Enam Holding. You may go ahead, please.
Yeah.
Sir, request.
Yeah, you can hear me now?
Yes, sir, we can hear you. Please go ahead.
Yeah. Hi, Saurabh, Ashok, and good morning to the team. Can you hear me now?
Yes, Bhavin.
Yes,
we can hear you, Bhavin.
Yeah, congrats. Yeah, that's for this big exciting growth opportunity you're creating. So two, three questions. One is on if you can give the year-wise capex you want to do for this new projects. What would be the capex in 23-24? First one. And the second question is why do you left out the MDF from this growth opportunity since now you're covering entire wood panel, all product segments, only MDF is left out. So any particular reason, any reason why you left out MDF from the growth capex? Yeah.
So Bhavin, I will have Ashok respond to the capex year-wise. Capex will be spread over broadly about 30 months for these capexes which we have announced. So before Ashok responds to that, so we are open to MDF, and like I said earlier, and we will be evaluating possibilities. So this is what I can say right now. So there's no particular reason. So we are open to MDF also. Ashokji, can you respond to the?
Yes, sir. Yeah, Bhavin. As sir has said, in terms of plywood and laminate, these will be implemented within FY23 since to start the commercial production towards end of 23, Q4 of 23. So most of the, or rather all of the capex will be done in FY23. For particle board, it will be spread over FY23 and 24. So you can presume 50% in FY23 and remaining in FY24. So you can presume around 500-600 crore will be spent in FY23 and remaining amount in the next year.
Thank you. We take the next video question from Mr. Gaurav Agarwal, Bowhead. Please go ahead, sir.
Hello, sir. Thank you very much for the opportunity and congratulations for a very aspiring growth plan. it's the right time for our company to pursue these growth plans. So, sir, first question is, the revenue potential that you mentioned for these new capacities. So, these is the peak capacity, right? Peak level and at the current realization that you have mentioned, right?
Yes. So, the existing, the revenue potential we've said of laminates, plywood, particle boards, all combined, particle boards about 600, 400 crores for about plywoods, and 500 crores laminates is on existing prices, right? On these capacities being peak, but like I also said, in both laminates and particle board plants in the Naidupeta plant, we will have in laminates multiple opportunities of doing brownfield expansions. So we can go up to another 3 to 4 lines, and even in the particle board plant for that area, there also we can add another line, in the future. Yeah. So it's peak from these capacities, but from an investment point, from a physical premises perspective, there is more opportunity to add more equipments and machineries at a later point.
Got it. And so at the beginning of this call, you mentioned that we are aspiring to triple our revenue. So yes, there is a clear roadmap to reaching a 2,700 crore, like 1,500 plus 1,200. So a 27, 2,800 crore kind of a roadmap. For the remaining, 600, 700, we need to do more capex. And if we do that, in which segment will we do?
No, so 1,200 was our FY21 revenue, Gaurav. And currently, if you see our Q2, we were at 450 crores. So our existing business can generate revenues of about 1,800 crores to 2,000 crores, which means 450, 470, 500. So we can do, so when we say 1,200 to 3 times is 3,600, new businesses will give us 1,500 crores. And we believe our existing business can give us in excess of about 2,000 crores over the next maybe 1 or 2 years, considering that we have still more capacity in the wood veneer flooring segment. And we are also working on continuously improving our value mix in the laminate segment. So that's how the 3,600 crore max will come from. 1,500 from these new investments and about 2,000, 2,100 from the existing investments.
Got it. And so just last question in the...
CapEx.
Got it. And so just last question on the plywood side, in which segment do we intend to be in? Like it is the premium segment that we want to be in, or the mid segment, or the lower mid segment where most of these unorganized players, operate? So which do you think will be our, target area for plywood?
So as you can see, we're just one plant and with not such a large capacity, and with the kind of brand positioning we have, across our existing product lines of veneers, flooring door, we normally get a small premium to our nearest competition. So in plywood will be more mid to premium. The premium segment will be slightly heavy initially because we'll have only one factory. So it depends on how this goes in the future. And obviously we are entering these businesses taking an extremely long-term view, and that long-term could be 10 years, could be 20 years. So I think some things will gradually pan out. But the initial start will be more mid to premium and more premium initially.
Got it, sir. Thank you, sir, and all the best for these growth plans.
Thanks, sir.
Thank you so much. We take the next chat question from Pranav Mehta from Equirus. How will funding be done for the capex? What would be the rough mix of originated to unoriginated in particle board, and how much of the total consumption is met by imports?
So on the funding, I will ask Ashok to take the question. And regarding the maths on imports, maybe Vikas can respond to it. I did not follow the second question clearly when you said originating. I didn't understand that very clearly. So maybe we can request Pranav to just put that question across again. So maybe we can respond. So in the meantime,
the split between organized and unorganized.
Yeah, okay, that's fine.
Okay.
So I think Ashok can respond to the funding, and then Vikas can respond to the organized, unorganized, and imports, etc. Yes, Ashok.
Yeah, sure. Pranav, in terms of funding, it will be done in a mix of debt and internal accrual. we plan to do around 65% source through the debt and remaining through the internal accrual. And as we said in the beginning of the call, it will spread over 2 years kind of a thing. So that's the plan. We will do the debt and remaining from internal accrual.
I just mentioned the funding will happen over a 2 to 3 year period, so maybe more like a 30 months or something.
Yes.
Vikas, please.
Yeah. Thank you, Pranav. Pranav, the split between organized and organized in particle board is there are only 3 national players in particle board, and then those two have a very small capacity. And primarily 95% you can say is unorganized, small players operating mainly out of Gujarat. Hope that answers your question, Pranav.
And maybe I'll just add in here, Pranav, when you say national players in this segment, because nobody's really ever focused in a meaningful manner in particle boards. So really there is no national, yes, there are national players who have a particle board capacity. Yes, but are those capacities relevant or meaningful? The answer is no. There is only one player which has a good set of equipments, good size of investments in Bangalore, near Bangalore. And they have been having some challenges with the organization on the financial front, etc., for several years. Yeah. So as we talk right now, there is no meaningful national player or a national capacity or a meaningful capacity in this space.
Thank you. We have the next chat question from Mr. Akhil Parekh from Centrum Broking. The question is, what has changed structurally in wood panel industry during the last 1.5 years? Supply crunch or sharp improvement in demand? Any capacity shutdowns? The second question from him is, incremental sales of rupees 1500 crore by when? Third, impact of ROIC with addition of plywood and particle boards. These were his questions.
So the first question was, what has changed in the wood panel industry? Is that correct, Diksha?
Yes, what has changed structurally in the wood panel industry during the last 1.5 years?
And second was capacity, if any capacity shut down, ROC,
yes.
By when it was coming. Yeah. So what's happened over the last 1.5 years? So clearly we see the organized players getting more larger. We see more formalization happening. We see organized brands, organized companies creating more capacities, right? And on the demand side, yes, demand has improved, but at the same time, several smaller factories, smaller companies have lost market share because of funding, people, inability to organize resources. Imports in particle boards, MDF, imports of furniture, I think all of this has reduced, which has given a boost to the domestic manufacturing of boards and domestic manufacturing of furniture fabricators. So I think I would say these are the large changes in the wood panel industry. The acceptance of modular furniture, modular kitchens, wardrobes, doors, shop fit-out panels, on-site installation, off-site carpentry. I think this trend has also kind of accelerated over the last few years, right? Whether COVID-induced acceleration or convenience or cost or hygiene, so I think multiple factors have contributed to that. Your second question was, has there been any capacity shutdown? So yes, there's not been one meaningful capacity shutdown. In particle boards, like I said earlier, one of the larger players or meaningful players has had problems over the last 5, 7, 8 years. That clearly has created a space for another player to emerge. Otherwise, smaller manufacturing plants have struggled with capacities. So there's no one major shutdown which is creating a space. And your third question was on ROC, is that correct, Diksha?
The third question was on impact of ROC with addition of plywood and particle boards.
So we believe because once we create these investments, once they all materialize and they get executed correctly, ROCs for the entire business at those revenues will be in the band of maybe like a 22-25%, kind of a situation with different businesses being at different stages. So the ROCs might vary within the businesses, but broadly you can assume like a 20-25% kind of a maths moving ahead on the ROCs. Did that answer all the questions? Did I miss any, Adisha?
There was one more question, sir.
Yeah.
In terms of when this 1,500 crore revenue we expect to come. So, as we said in the call, plywood and laminates, we hope to reach 100% utilization within 2 to 3 years. And for the particle boards within 3 to 4 years, we expect it to reach in that process.
Thank you.
Diksha, go ahead.
Yes, sir. Sure. We have the next video question from the line of Achal Lohade, JM Financial. Please go ahead.
Yeah, good morning. Hear me?
Yes, we can hear you. Please go ahead.
Okay. Yeah, thank you for the opportunity, sir. My first question is in terms of choosing the particle board. If you could the reason to pick the particle board for the thing at adding MDF capacities first before going for particle board. If you could give some color or the rational pick particle board over MDF.
Although I got your last part of the question, Achal, I couldn't hear the first part. So if the question is, why have we chosen to first invest into particle board over MDF? If that's the question I got.
Yes.
Question?
That's the question. Yes.
Yes. So if you see the particle business, and like we said, one, there's an opportunity for a meaningful national player. Second, particle boards is largely sold as a laminated particle board product and not as a bare board product. And we think there's a lot of alignment between a core business of laminates and particle boards as prelam particle board, right? And that's the idea of putting this plant at one location where, so if you would assume an office space, right? So there'll be public toilets in the office space which will need compact laminates of a certain color. Office worktops, desks will need prelam particle boards. You would need laminates maybe for the worktop or for paneling requirements. So this whole color matching solution offering model where compact laminates, thin laminate sheets, prelam particle boards, matching edge band can be done. So we believe as a first step, our focus was and is to strengthen our core, right? So with this, we'll fortify our existing business even further. And that was the decision. That was the reason of moving to a particle business before getting into an MDF business, right? On the metrics of investment, return ratios, etc. Clearly, because there is no other meaningful player right now, or people have smaller capacities, good quality boards are not available. When good quality boards are not available, the quality of pre-lamination particle board is not good. You can also do several value-added category in particle boards like registered embossing. You can do things like HMR grade. Because boards are not available, a lot of that market share, which typically has gone to particle boards globally, has moved to MDF in India, right? So from a usage perspective, wherever there is dry application, particle board is a great panel product. It's at a slightly lower, not slightly, it's at a 20-25% lower cost than MDF. Because boards are not available, particle boards, MDF has taken more market share in that space. So one, the idea was to strengthen our core. Second, particle boards is sold more as a decorative laminated product rather than a bare board, which was aligned to our existing core business. And we believe this segment offers an opportunity because there is space here, there is no meaningful player, it's completely unorganized segment, and people are not paying attention to the segment. That's the reason we went to this segment. And there are significant possibilities of value addition in the segment, actually.
You had indicated there is of 1 crore, how much would be imports?
Second answer, please.
The imports mix in the particle board at this point in time, what would be the mix, and what is the price differential between the domestic and the imported price?
So currently, the import price, you can currently, as we talk right now, is nearly at the moment, because of the sea freights, rates going up. The bareboard of import versus local imports are higher by nearly 60-70% at the moment, right? So for all practical purposes, because of freight situation and the cost situation, imports virtually are not coming in particle boards in the country right now. Can you hear me?
Understood.
Yeah.
Yes.
Vikas.
Yes, sir, that's it.
And literally right now, particle boards imports are more expensive than domestic MDF also. Yeah. So the dynamic of particle board is at the moment, on paper looks extremely attractive, but once boards come in, it'll change a bit. Yeah.
Right. But if I were to ask you prior to pandemic, what would that mix be?
Because would you have that math right now? Pre-COVID, what was the import model?
Pre-COVID, almost 15,000 cubic meters of raw boards were being imported every month into India. They were mainly used by short cycle guys.
So how much would be that percentage? Because I think that's what I should want to.
Percentage is around 30% of the total raw material. But nothing in pre-laminate.
So when raw boards come in, Achal, they again get laminated, right? So one has to laminate the board and then sell in the market. So the end product is sold laminated particle board and not a bare board.
Understood. And in the presentation you had talked about in the ply business, there is regulatory compliance in plywood in the section of the unorganized seeding market board. If you could elaborate, what are we talking about? Is there any thought of outsourcing or tying up with for the plywood business with the third parties apart from own manufacturing?
So when we talked about the regulatory compliances, we meant full billing, GST, e-billing, taxation, labor compliance, all of that, because these people don't comply to all these matters mostly, and that's why they pass on a cost benefit to the market. So that was the direction we meant. As far as us tying up with for outsourcing, etc., like I said earlier to somebody, we're starting with our own plant manufactured model actually right now. And obviously, it's going to be a long way for the company to keep building these businesses. Our businesses are really long-term in nature. They don't get disrupted or products don't change so much. The buying habit or structure can change. So at the moment, we're not looking at an outsourcing model. We are factory finished, factory produced model. But in the future, it's something we'll evaluate at the right time. For the moment, it's only going to be plant manufactured, high quality product, and then we'll take it from there.
Great. If you look at the laminate business, it is more distributor sales, through the distributor. While in case of
sorry to interrupt, we are unable to hear you clearly. The voice is breaking.
Achal, can't hear you.
Is it better by any chance now?
It's better, Achal. Yes.
Yeah. So what I wanted to check is that in terms of the distribution, would you require substantial investment to market these products, or you think the existing distributor-led laminate channel will be able to sell these products?
So Achal, the plywood business is a company to dealer format. It's not a distribution format business, right? So from the plants, we will reach out to various locations on a direct shipment basis. So in our existing model, the secondary dealers of ours, the secondary customers who buy from our distributors, will become a direct customers in the case of plywood, right? So from that perspective, the relationships, the knowledge, the understanding is already there with who those customers, who those dealers, who those partners are, right? As far as the particle board business is concerned, it's a hybrid model where one ships to OEMs to the mechanized furniture fabricators who are large, and then you have dealer/stockist models, right, who do some wholesaling and who redistribute to smaller furniture fabricators, panel insert producers, etc. Again, those relationships are currently handled through a secondary model for us and not as a primary model. So really, it's not going to be difficult for us to set the network up in terms of getting the products to the market. Most of the OEMs or the mechanized furniture fabricators are buying our products either through distributors or through dealers or at times directly from us also. So again, our people visit those customers, those relationships are there with us.
Understood. And just last question, sorry. In terms of if you look at the green group companies, we have all the three guys selling plywood, and probably now MDF stroke particle board as well. So how do you try to address this conflict in terms of the brand and a probable confusion in the channel as well as the end consumer's mind?
So as far as greenlam is concerned, we will enter plywood. Right now we're not selling. Yeah. Particle boards, at the moment, greenlam is doing it as a very small part of our business, where we do some lamination for certain North Indian customers only at the Behro factory. So there is no confusion on the particle space. Plywood clearly, with us also entering the space, so the brand will not be a greenlam ply, will be something else by Greenlam Industries, right? So whether there'll be some confusion or not, yes, there could be some confusion, or rather there will be some confusion. So I think with the corporate brand umbrella, there'll be clarity in the market which group is doing what. So it's something which will kind of, we believe, pass away slowly, and there could be some temporary, confusions with the market, or rather there are some temporary confusions in the market. But we believe, we'll still go and gain more market share.
Thank you so much. I wish you all the best. I'll come back and with you.
Thanks, Anshul.
Thank you so much. We have the next audio question from the line of Ms. Neha Talreja from Edelweiss. Please go ahead.
Thanks a lot to the Greenland team for the opportunity, and apologies if I will be having some repeated questions because I was constantly getting logged off. Questions from my end. You are now, mostly doubling your gross block, and definitely we will be looking at, of course, the revenue opportunities are huge, and you've already highlighted that. What is the kind of a bandwidth that we have added with respect to senior leadership team over, what period, which is giving us the visibility to achieve that kind of a tripling the turnover? That's one. Secondly, what kind of, debt position are we looking at, since you said that, we would be maintaining a reasonable amount of leverage and it will not be over leveraged? That's secondly. And if MDF could also be one, that's going to, be an additional debt on us. So some clarity over there.
Yeah. So I'll take the first question, Neha, on the team size. And as you can see, we have few team members already, on this dialogue today. So our teams for manufacturing setup of Andhra Pradesh and Tamil Nadu, both the senior leadership is in place. UN is here. So UN is heading the setup of the Andhra Pradesh plant, and is also supporting the plywood folks at the Tamil Nadu plant. And we have teams in place for Tamil Nadu also. So on the manufacturing side, key team members across, mechanical, electrical, civil, leadership, commercial, HR, admin is already in place. On the sales side, the laminates business just plugs into our existing sales network of both domestic and internationally. And currently we already choked for capacity. So that's on the laminate side. On the ply and particle board, you can see Vikas on the screen. Vikas is going to head the particle boards sales setup. He's been in the industry of particle boards, MDF and related categories for over a couple of decades. And you can see Yogesh on the line. Yogesh has worked with me, and with some other companies in the past. So Yogesh has deep experience about both plywoods and particle boards and MDF actually. So Yogesh is working with Vikas and the ply guys to set up the ply team here. Otherwise, all the leadership team at head office in terms of accounting, finance, ID, HR, marketing, that's all going to be common resources for the entire setup. So by and large, you can assume that the key people are already in place. And these categories are not something new to us. We've been in the space. These are adjoining spaces. Customers are common, products are common. So that's not a challenge. On the tripling of revenues. So we've taken last year's base from a year-end base of 1,200 crores. The existing business, without any meaningful investments or any investments, can go up to 1,800, 2,000 crores. So really, you are adding another 1,500 crores of revenue, of which 500 crores is an extension of the laminate business. So the new teams are required to really go and build the 1,000 crores of sales of both plywoods and particle boards. So we are quite confident that that seems to be completely under control. I will have Ashok take the question on the leverage just after I finish the MDF thing. So MDF is something we're open to, and we'll keep announcing things once they get concluded, because a lot of these projects take time in terms of land, in terms of approvals of forest and etc. So clearly we don't want to too much. So we will communicate as and when things get closed. So that's something we will work upon. Ashok can take the question on the leverage. Ashok.
Sure. Sneha, in terms of leverage, so as per our estimate on the peak debt will be in the range of around 0.8 debt to equity will be 0.8 to equity, and we hope that within this seems to be manageable kind of a thing.
Sure, sir. Sir, two more questions from the plywood side. You're definitely getting into the business. I think this would require extensive work on the distribution. The reason I'm asking is definitely you're there into the laminate business, but your existing distribution setup would already be dealing with, let's say, a green ply or a century ply or maybe a green panel at this particular time. So what would be the plan here? And secondly, how do you plan to differentiate now your brand versus, both other greens? Because now you're coming with similar setup, which is, the plywood business for now, and maybe MDF later. So what is the idea of, differentiating yourself now versus with the existing brand?
So on the distribution setup, Neha, like I said earlier to Achal, the laminate model is a distribution model where there's a large stockist or distributor who ships to a number of dealers, right? So those dealer relationships are already in place with us, right? We believe that despite the fact of century ply, green ply, panel or whatever, at the trade level, and maybe Yogesh can add later on this, dealers still lack availability, access to a branded player, right? So if you look at various markets, towns, cities, you really have just two branded players, which is nationally available, green ply and century ply. In some markets it's green panel, some markets is someone else, like that. So it's more spread across the country. We believe there are more enough dealers who want to have a branded player as part of a branded product as part of the portfolio, and there aren't enough branded products available in the market. So I think without clashing with anybody, we think there's a space available which we can create for ourselves. And we are not going through a distribution model in plywood. It will be a company to a dealer format. And if you look at the number of counters, dealers who are there in the market, and really how many have access to brands, I think that's much fewer. And really our competition is not with any organized player. We believe the unorganized segment is going to move to organized. There's a formalization happening, and we will probably take that market share rather than really competing directly with any branded player. So this is our belief, and maybe Yogesh can add if he wishes to. Yogesh, over to you.
Thank you, sir. May I request? Yeah, go ahead.
Sorry, Sneha, you can please continue. Sneha, you can say something.
Go ahead. You may go ahead with your...
Yeah, thank you, Sneha. Sneha, as Mr. Mittal has already confirmed, I would like to mention here this is a huge market. Plywood is about 13,000 crores market. And we are already dealing, as already been shown to you, we are already dealing with about 14,500 retailers network throughout the country. So we have a big market space to enter. So it is nothing to do with the branded players which we are talking about. We have our own space. Rather, you would appreciate the path is not known to us, and it will be very comfortable for us to achieve our goal.
And regarding your question on how do we distinguish, etc., like we have a veneer product also, which is being sold to certain amount of dealers throughout the country, where we generate about 125, 150 crore sales. The same customers who use somebody else's plywood, which are then the veneers pasted on a plywood, right? So our distinction really will be based on quality, trust, transparency, compliances, solid dealer relationships, good quality, great quality product. I think that's how we'll go and create our own space in the market. So we don't believe there'll be any significant competition with players. I think it'll be the unorganized movement which will capture. Does that answer your question, Sneha?
Oh, sir, it does. Thanks a lot, sir.
Thank you so much. We take the next chat question from Mr. Arun Agarwal from Kotak Securities. The question is, can you share how the ramp up will happen across the upcoming new capacities?
Ashwini, will you take that? Will you share that sheet, Ashwini? Or you will just go ahead?
Yeah, wrap up in terms of, as we have said that for the laminate and plywood, we are expecting 100% by second to third year. So first year which is around, we're expecting around 50% of the capacity utilization, which is move towards 70-75% in the second year, and then 100% in third year. That's for laminate and plywood, which will go for commercial production on Q4 of FY23. For particle board, we are expecting a 3 to 4 years of ramping up from 0 to 100 kind of a thing, starting with around 50% in the first 3 months, which we get in the FY24, and then moving on to 60-70% in FY25, and then around 70-80% in and then the next year onwards.
Thank you. We take the next chat question from Rishabh Bhotra, Anand Rathi. The question is, what is the lifespan of each of the business verticals? How is the replacement demand and raw or original or new fresh demand? So they just want to know how is the replacement demand in raw or original or new or fresh demand.
So if the question is about the first question is about the industry's lifespan. So the products we are into, fortunately, are not, disrupted in terms of usage. Rather, these products disrupt solid wood or any other category, right? So like we said earlier, particle boards is made from lops and tops, waste wood, chips, agroforestry. Even the plywood cut now being produced in the country, 95% in volume terms is all agroforestry. So clearly, these businesses have a long lifespan as an industry. Yeah. If the second question was more about the product life cycle, plywood, which is used in residential spaces, will have a longer lifespan. Greenlam particle boards used in commercial spaces will have a slightly shorter lifespan because people want to renovate their spaces. It's a modular product. It's a cost-efficient product. It's a laminated product. So particle board, like we said, can be like a 5-7 year, kind of a replacement cycle. Plywood can be upwards of 10 years. And larger consumption obviously will be newer constructions, newer interiors, and then there'll be a renovation demand also. Does that make sense, Rishabh?
Yes, sir.
Rishabh?
Yes, sir. Sure. We have the next chat question from Karan Patelia from MSEC. The question is, PPT mentioned of rupees 500 crore revenue potent. Is that on a capacity of 3.5 MN sheet?
Yes, that's right.
Yeah, and the reason for this is significantly higher than our existing realization is that in this, as we have mentioned this, we will be putting up 3 presses of different sizes and dimension. So that's why the number of units are lesser, because we will produce bigger size laminates and thicker laminates. So that's why the number of units are less and realization are more.
So the realization looks higher versus the average realization right now, but the realizations taken are similar to the current realizations of those sizes.
Thank you. We have the next chat question from Padma Raju from SBI Life Insurance. The question is, regarding the shift from unorganized to organized, this is true for most of the building material players in this year, given higher RM prices leading to higher working capital requirements. Once these prices stabilize, do you think there will be some reversal in the shift, that is, unorganized players coming back?
So clearly, even at the moment, it's not as if unorganized segment is over, right? They are still present. As and when the RM costs reverse, if they do reverse, surely you could see unorganized players, getting back to business. But like we mentioned earlier, most of the unorganized players survive because of regulatory compliances not being met by them, and we think as that gets stricter, tougher, there will be a shift to formalization. Right? Even from a customer's perspective, customers now, we believe, want branded, organized products. The OEM segment, the mechanized furniture fabrication segment, architects, designers, developers, builders, that entire segment is largely going to be driven by organized products, organized companies, organized brands, because they want certain specifications, certain technical data sheets, certain delivery schedules, certain supply chain. So we believe, despite and in spite of RM costs, if they do reverse, we still believe that the formalization will continue in our sector.
Thank you. We take the next chat question from Dhiresh Pathak from Goldman Sachs. The question is, what is the thought process behind the choice of location to set up the plywood and particle board plant?
So the thought process was driven by raw materials availability in South India. South India being the largest consuming market for prelam particle board, largest number of mechanized furniture fabricators in that region. So nearly 45-50% of market share of the particle boards, mechanized fabricators, OEMs are in South. And in plywoods, it's the largest branded consuming zone or region. And we as Greenlam also have the largest market share there. So access to availability of raw material, access to ports, because laminates, will be exports and also will be sales in South India from there. Access to South India markets, being the largest markets for both plywood and particle boards and for our laminates. So these were the reasons which drove us to make the investment in South India. Currently, we already have 2 plants. One is in upper north, one is in more like a northwest in Rajasthan. So it's also a de-risking from the existing areas.
Thank you. We have the next chat question from Vijay Karpe Bryston Investments. The question is, with respect to plywood business, what kind of ROCE, EBITDA margins and working capital cycle we are expecting at peak utilization? The second question is, what is the new plywood capacity in CBM? Are we also planning to outsource any plywood manufacturing? The third question is, why not get into MDF?
So I will have Ashok respond to the plywood capacity, working capital cycle, EBITDAs, ROCs, cubic meter. Before I give to Ashok, I'll quickly respond on the outsourcing of plywood and why not MDF. So on outsourcing the plywood, we want to start with our own factory-produced, high-quality product model aimed at the mid to premium segment. And ply is going to be a long runway. It's not just one plant. The capacity we are putting in, eventually to feed the country effectively. There will be, potentially in the future, some more investments. So we are open to it, but not at the moment. At the moment, we're just going to focus on the factory-finished, factory-produced model. That's on the plywood story. On the MDF and particle board, like we said, we're open to MDF also. But as a first step, because the particle board business, there is space, there is no national player, there's no meaningful national player, and the business is more aligned to our core business of laminates. We don't want to distract ourselves from our core business. So alignment of greenlam particle board business to laminates, and the space availability of emerging as a leading market player or a quicker mover in particle boards is what attracted us to first invest into business. And we are obviously open to an MDF model also, which is not sorted out right now, but yes, we are open to it. Ashok, over to you on the plywood metrics, please.
Yes, sir. So in terms of plywood, we are expecting a bit of around, as I mentioned earlier also, around 13-14% on 100% utilization of capacity, which we hope to achieve in third year of operation. In terms of working capital, we are expecting around 35-40 days of working capital. And in terms of ROC, we are expecting around 22-24% of ROC.
Thank you. We take the next chat question from Abhishek Vora from Ambit Asset Management. The question is, hi, could you tell us the expected capacity utilization levels in each of the segments of FY24? When do we expect it to reach full capacity?
Ashok, you will take it.
Yeah. So we mentioned this before in this call. For the laminate and plywood, we expect to start production in Q3 of next year, which is FY23, and FY24 will be second year of operation. So we hope to around 70-75% of capacity utilization for laminate and plywood. For particle board, this will be the first year of operation, and we will get around a quarter or so. So in this, we hope to achieve around 40-50% of utilization in this quarter. And in terms of when we will achieve the 100% of the capacity utilization, for the laminate and plywood, we are expecting in the third year of operation, and for the particle board, we are expecting the same in fourth year of operation.
Thank you. We take the next chat question from Kunal Shah from Inam. The question is, any update on the status of the Bhairar plant which is temporarily shut?
So I'll take that question. So we've already got the necessary revocation order from the CAQM Delhi, and just final signatures need to come in from the Rajasthan government, Rajasthan State Pollution Control Board. So I think it's a matter of a day or two should be resolved.
Thank you. We take the next chat question from Girish Chaudhary from Spark Capital Advisors Private Limited. The questions are, the first question, Are you targeting to take market share from cheap plywood segment? In terms of sales, will this be primarily to furniture OEMs? Broadly, if you can give us some sense on what expect on retail sales and project sales in this business. The target rupees 600 crore revenue implies a realization to close to 26,000 CBM. How does this compare the current domestic manufactured and imported particle boards? And in your assumption of rupees 600 crore revenues, what has been factored in terms of product mix between plain boards and pre-laminated boards?
So on the first question of market share of plywood, so obviously we will not be driving, taking share from the cheap plywood in the plywood segment, because we're looking at the mid to premium segment. So we'll probably take the growth of the market, we'll take share from certain regional brands, we'll create our own market space with our brand and with our network and our relationship with architects, IDs and carpenters, influencers. So that's on the plywood space. On the particle board, 600 crores investment and 26,000 cubic meter, like we said earlier. Particle board is largely a pre-laminated particle board model and not a bare board model. So our intention is to largely produce and sell pre-laminated particle board. And because we're investing in the top-of-the-line equipment, the board quality, the capabilities of the company in terms of width, sizes, grades is all going to be top-end. And accordingly, we have made our mathematics in terms of what segment will we target, what will be our mix, and what will be the price realizations. So in terms of plain and pre-laminated particle board, we have assumed, if I remember correctly, Shoji, you can add here, about 20% plain boards and about 80% pre-laminated particle board on a full capacity. Is that correct, Shoji?
Yes, sir, that's correct. But this percentage also will on increasing. With this, we are not expecting in the first year, on gradually as we move ahead, kind of thing. But at the final utilization, in the 100% utilization level, we have taken this, what you said is 20% bare board and 80% pre-lam.
Thank you. We take the next question from Amit Zade from Antique. The question is, some of our newer product segments like Veneer or EWF has been impacting our overall performance of company for some time now. What gives us the confidence of right to win in the segment of ply or particle board?
So yes, the veneer flooring and door segments have been impacting us. These are newer businesses where only produce in flooring. In the door segment, it was a small investment, but it's a new concept in the market where we produce at the factory and we install at the site. These have just been harder to, it's also concept selling has been harder to bring that to the market. And over the last 5-6 years, we've had challenges in the housing market, and we've had demonetization, GST, Corona, etc., etc. So there have been multiple headwinds in the businesses. While we expect these businesses also to do better over the future. In the plywood and particle board products, these are more mass markets. There's also already a large market available, where we think we can gain more market share, we can win more market share. In these two new segments of flooring and doors, clearly we were doing most of the heavy lifting of creating the segment, building the market, teaching customers the concept. So these segments are more hard, and we discussed at the presentation. Our current space of operation is quite a narrow, tighter market range, more decorative in nature, more service oriented, while plywood, prelam, particle boards, from that perspective, there's already a ready market, there's already things available, and we think the ramp up will be quicker in terms of utilization, and also working capital cycles will be shorter.
Thank you. We take the next chat question from Himesh Satra from Sequent Investments. The question is, laminate realization is higher for new capacity. Is it value-added product or any other reason?
So on the laminates, like Ashok mentioned to one of the other questions earlier, in the new plant, so the relations we've taken is the similar relation or the same relation we have currently for those kind of products which we're currently producing. So in the new plant, we'll have 2 big size laminate presses and 1 4x8. So accordingly, because there are 2 large size presses, which means we'll be producing more larger size laminate sheets and more boards, the relations have got altered because of the mix. So otherwise, the prices we've taken is what we are already achieving currently.
Thank you. We take the next chat question from Akshay Chheda from Canada Robeco AMC. The question is, what is the difference between PB versus MDF in all aspects like strength and custom, margin, etc.?
So I will ask Vikas to take that question in terms of the comparison between particle board and MDF. Vikas, go ahead.
Yeah. Actually, particle board is mainly used into furniture in vertical applications and modular furniture, whereas MDF can be used and
15,500 for plain board, and for pre-lam of various sizes, thickness, various kind of value-added product, all put together, we have taken around 28,500.
Thank you.
Vikas, can you respond about market? Besides OEMs, who else can be customers for pre-laminated particle board?
So, there are two sets of customers. One are the large format mechanized furniture maker. Then there are small format furniture makers also. So primarily this product will be used in furniture applications only. So majorly our customers will be furniture makers, organized and unorganized both.
Also things like panel inserts, TV trolleys, education desks.
Yeah. So I am categorizing them into furniture, small time furniture makers only.
Right.
Thank you.
Thank you. We take the next chat question from Rishabh Botra from Anantrati. The question is, first, historical growth rates for plywood and particle board business. Second, surplus land bank in existing facilities and what sort of expansion is possible in each of the business verticals, and by when will these be added, and what could be the capex outlay for the same? The next is diverse customer profiling, residential, commercial, institutional buyers, architects, individual customers, etc. The fifth one is key RM for plywood and particle board and its sourcing and pricing.
It's quite a lot of questions. So, Ashokji, I don't know whether we have the data of historical rate of growth of the industry of plywood and particle board. I'm not sure whether we have that map. As far as the surplus land bank math is concerned, at the Tamil Nadu side, we will not have surplus land. At the Naidupeta side, we will have opportunities to do brownfield in both laminates and particle boards or any other board manufacturing. When we'll do that, what will be the investment? Clearly, is not something we have planned at the moment, and it really be a long shot to give you those responses in terms of investment, revenue, etc. And key raw materials for plywood is again plantation-based wood and certain chemicals. For particle boards is again agro-based wood chips, lops and tops, waste wood, certain chemicals, and decor paper for pre-lam particle board. On the customer profiling, I think we have to do some more detailing on it. Maybe we can make a note of this. I can't do that verbally. Maybe we can make a note of that. So someone, maybe you can connect independently on that, right? So you want the data or you want what percentages? I'm not sure whether we can give that exact percentage or something.
So Rishabh, we'll connect with Rishabh, sir, at a later stage.
Thank you. We take the next chat question from Manish Mahavar from Antique Stock Broking. The questions are: will the particle board and plywood be under Greenlam as brand or different name? Second, what is the size of Southland and how much utilization in current capex? The next is any tax or incentive from the government on the new plant.
So as far as the branding is concerned, we are doing some lamination of particle boards for the last several years, but in a very, very small way, just for customers around North India and NCR. There we use a brand called Greenlam MFC melamine face chipboard. So we're still not clear on how will we use the same brand or create a new brand. So that's something we are actively reviewing. On plywood, clearly it will not be Greenlam brand, it will be some other brand by Greenlam Industries. What is the next question?
In terms of Southland, what will be
how much of utilization in current capex?
Yes, Southland is approximately 66 acres, out of which 20 acres will be used for laminate and remaining for the particle board. And as we have mentioned earlier, we will have a space for brownfield expansion. It is difficult to exactly give how much percentage is being utilized and how much percentage is left. difficult to give, but we will have a space for brownfield expansion for laminate, as well as we have mentioned of one line size as of now cannot be decided for the particle board. In terms of tax incentive, there is for the Tamil Nadu subsidiary, there is no tax incentive because it's an existing company. In terms of Naidu Peta in the subsidiary, which we have formed specifically for this project, that will have a lower tax rate of 17%, which the Government of India has announced 2-3 years back.
Thank you. We have the next chat question from Nikhil Agarwal from VT Capital. What is the percentage of prelam particle board and plain particle board?
I think we have already answered this. This will be at 100% utilization, 20% plain and 80% prelam.
Thank you. We have the next chat question from Rohan Gupta from Edelweiss. The question is, given that all the three carved out arms of erstwhile Greenply family is going to compete with each other in all the categories, how the market is accepting it and how each of the player is fighting for market share gain with each other?
So, not all categories we are ending up competing. In certain categories there will be competition, and like we said before, the market is large enough. There is adequate opportunities to really go and take share from the unorganized players in each of the categories, and taking share from imports in certain categories. The consumption of furniture, plywood, particle boards, this entire category in India is far lower than what's there in so many other parts of the world. So, as far as greenlam is concerned, we're really focusing on in the new categories, particle boards anyway. There's no meaningful national player at the moment, so there is no competition. And the challenge will come in the plywood business, and that, like we said, the market is so large, it's 30,000 crore market size. So if you add green ply, century ply, green panel, I think the plywood revenues will be something like a sub 3,000 crore. So there still is so much opportunity for us to create our own market share. So this is how we're approaching it. So the idea is not to compete with each other or with anybody. I think the idea is to take more market share from the market in general.
Thank you.
Yep.
We take the next chat question from Kuber Chauhan from IDBI Bank. The question is, demand outlook on plywood, particle boards and laminates.
So when you say demand outlook, what would you mean? You would mean like a growth or like market size? Because all that's already mentioned in the presentation. So demand outlook looks good, if that's what it is. And also, like we said again, this whole story of unorganized to organized, replacement of imports. In laminates, we have this whole international thing, where we've opened up so many markets. So there's significant opportunity we have there. So in plywood, it's going to be more domestic market, more the whole taking away share from unorganized or creating our own market share because dealers want more brands. Particle boards, again, there's no meaningful player. Growth of furniture, growth of modular furniture, growth of off-site carpentry, whatever we mentioned in the presentation. In laminates, we have opportunities in both domestic and in the international markets.
Thank you.
Yeah.
We take the next chat question from Namit Mehta from KC Capital. Can you talk through the expansions in context of the demerger from Greenply? How do you think about the advantages and disadvantages of being a focused organization versus one-stop shop?
So I think it's a little bit of a longish conversation. I don't know how much can I say on that right now. And clearly we think that with a focused organization, we have certain limitations beyond a certain market size, and several of our customers, architects, IDs, dealers want more products from us. So clearly we think adding more products at the moment will make sense. And so otherwise, advantages and disadvantages, I think is a far more longish conversation. Maybe we can park that for some other time. Right now, I think we just want to focus on what we are doing and what we intend to do.
Thank you. We have the next chat question from Amit Vora from PCS Securities. The question is, what sizes are we looking to sell in particle board? What is the mix you are looking at in terms of plain versus prelam?
So maybe you can give the information on the sizes we're looking to sell, Yuvan.
Yes, sir. Yeah, Mr. Amit. As far as the sizes are concerned, it's going to be a very flexible line. We will have a sizes starting from 7 feet by 4 feet to the 9 feet by 6 feet, any size in between. Mostly the fast moving sizes we are expecting 7 by 4, 7 by 5, 7 by 6, 8 by 4, 8 by 5, 8 by 6, 9 by 4, 9 by 5, 9 by 6. These are the sizes, and the thickness range can be varied from 6 millimeter to 40 millimeter, any thickness. Thank you.
Yeah, and in terms of mix, it's 20% in plain and 80% prelam. That's what we are expecting when we reach a full utilization.
Thank you. Anyone who wishes to ask a question over video may click on the video question button at the bottom of their screens. Participants who wish to ask their question through chat may submit their questions in the chat box option appearing at the bottom of their screens. We'll wait for a moment to see if there are any other questions from the participants.